to set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Hello, AKAPADers. Welcome back to the show of shows. I hope you love animation, because that's what we do on the weekends during the day. I like to emulate, I like to replicate the idea, and I grew up in this generation of waking up, you get your cereal, sugar-powered cereal, and you plop yourself down, and the networks, 3, 6, and 10, would have cartoons. And you would just go between different networks, different channels, different shows, and just watch cartoons for a few hours as the rest of the house woke up. And when the cartoons ran out, so did you. You would have to go out there, knock on neighbors' doors, and find something else to do for the rest of the day. For myself, since I'm a somewhat obsessive individual, even when I was young, I would draw and go into my room and just be amongst my toys and comic books and children's books, later to go out. But guys, it's animation weekend, and we're talking about something special here, something I didn't even know was coming. That's what she said. It's Invincible Season 4. Let me tell you a little bit of how I even knew this happened. This world, there's not enough bandwidth for me to keep up with all of this, AKAPADers. Luckily, I have somewhat of a discovery practice in my lifestyle, where because of this podcast, I do a couple things to make sure I at least have a pulse. My morning routine, it's not complicated. I wake up, I make coffee. Sometimes the coffee is automatic. Usually it is. The coffee gets brewed at 5:30. I wake up around 5. I stretch, dynamic stretch for my lower hips. I'm currently training for a 10-mile race or 10-mile run. So I have to do a lot of calf stretches and calf pulls and body weight calf movements for the mobility of my right foot. Shower. I have a face routine. I have a hair routine. The hair routine's just regrowth type stuff, or fighting thinning of the hair stuff. You gotta maintain that youthfulness. At that point, my fiance starts to wake up and gear up for the day. As she starts to gear up for the day, I hit the drawing table. If a lot of you don't know, I'm an illustrator. I'm one of the individuals that can turn a blank piece of paper into anything you desire or I desire. And I have a tablet, a good-sized tablet that floats next to my drawing table, because I have it on an easel. I have it on its own stand or arm. It's an Amazon tablet. It's synced with everything here. I have a lot of Amazon products. So I boot that up, and there it is, right on the home screen, Invincible Season 4. And I was so excited to press play and start a day of drawing illustration. Now, my day of drawing and illustration usually runs from 6 to 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. I'm sorry. It's a good 3-hour stretch, and during that time, I'm at my drawing table. I might be getting calls. I might be getting emails. There might be a little bit of a back and forth on my Microsoft Teams. I'm sure you guys get the picture. But to have a day starting with this new season, and keep in mind, AKAPADers, we have 28 episodes total. And my intent of this episode is to remind you guys why Invincible is special and potentially the greatest animation, the greatest adult animation that we have in the modern day in America of all time. It's hard to compare Invincible to feats like Aladdin, Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame. We look at American animation almost like through eras. It's through different lenses and conditions, and not all animation is equal because the intent's not equal. I think comparing eras of animation, it takes, you have to have some fight in you. You have to have some insight in you. I hate the word nuance, but it takes a lot of back and forth explanation and condition building into your argument. I'll say this: Invincible season 4 just re-solidified everything for me. The way that these characters, and there's a lot of them, and again, these are the reasons why Invincible is exactly what it is. There's so many characters. There's interrelationships within these characters. We have separate storylines on separate planets. Technically, we have ones through separate pieces of time. And we follow all of it. We know the human characters, what's important to them, what they're somewhat fighting for, or we're closer to them to know what Invincible's fighting for. We get into the history of the Vildamites, who are the focused villains, the main villains of this show. We're in a superhero universe. And the showrunners, Robert Kirkman, who is one of the co-creators of Invincible, created by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. Walker and Ottley they're two of the best artists of their generation. I believe there was a couple lawsuits, money owed. But Robert Kirkman and Simon Recupia, I love these last names. We spoke about him before. So we did an episode in season 3, and I said Simon is one of the guys to focus on, because the way that they transformed the comic book into the show to where the show is more superior, or is superior to the comic. It's accurate, it's true, it's there. And the reason for that is we care more about the show than we ever did for the comic. I was there in 2003 when Invincible dropped. I bought it off the stands, and it was a nice read. It worked well within the stack of comics, but a couple years would go by. I was out of the comic shop, and you would still hear it. At this point, the conversation of Invincible went from the comic shop to Barnes and Noble. And people in the bookstores would get some of the collected editions. There was a trade paperback size, and what's a format later, I guess, solidified as Ultimate Edition, not Absolute or not Deluxe Edition, even though Deluxe Edition reprints are almost like Ultimate. There's a little bit of a size difference. But, the American comic book industry loves its reprints. There's a lot of formats to keep track of, and they're inventing new formats annually. Like every year, there's one or two new reprint formats. It's a little nuts. The legend of Invincible was grown through American bookstores, not American comic shops. The reason why Invincible is so special, and I had this revelation while I was watching it at my drawing desk, which is hard to do because so many things are happening and I keep looking up. When we get into discussions of why stuff doesn't work now for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or we have to be honest, James Gunn, we know he took over DC Comics or DC Studios. He makes Superman, quickly jumps into the sequel, green lights Supergirl. We have Lanterns coming, Peacemaker season 2 or 3, absolute disappointment. But he streamlines and he expedites a lot of these stories, a lot of this production. But we have to admit too, Creature Commandos, as fun and great as that was, his DC Studios is a failure. Marvel Cinematic Universe is teetering. There's so much relying on Avengers Doomsday. And you ask yourself, how is this possible when there's so much for them to pull from when it comes to the source material? There's just so much there. There's so many proven ideas, concepts, storylines, all of it. A lot of the work is done for these guys when they go into comic book adaptations. And the answer is simple. It's these universes, these catalogs, these inventories of intellectual properties. It's too vast to make any sense out of it. And there's not one position that dictates where to go. Now, we did have a position for the Marvel Cinematic Universe for about 10 years. Not all of those movies were great or perfect, right? I mean, we had the Thor movies. We had Paul Rudd as a superhero that just wouldn't die. He's still going. But, like as good as some of those MCU movies were, leading into Endgame, some people will say even Endgame, disappointment. So there's no editorial dictatorship position that can help you narrate this or navigate it. Comic books it's a weird medium, it's a weird business. Some of the stories, I mean, just for example, I have a YouTube video about Kazar. Kazar is Marvel's proxy for Tarzan. He comes from the Savage Land. Has a saber-toothed tiger. I forget the saber-toothed tiger's name. And Kazar is a part of the Marvel universe. And I'm reading 2 Kazar comics that came out in the same calendar year. I believe it was 97. One's a miniseries, one's a monthly. One's making Kazar more into a sci-fi superhero. Still half naked in the jungle, but more superhero. And then the other one is more Conan the Barbarian. And these are 2 books that came out in the same calendar year. During a time where Marvel had strict editors or an overbearing editor-in-chief. Things like this would still slip into the line because comics in large is a medium of experimentation. But there's this need and desire to have a interwoven superhero universe. And there's a lot of Invincible to compare to Dragon Ball Z. We can argue that Invincible is America's Dragon Ball Z. But where Invincible defines itself away from all the other superhero stuff, mainly DC Studios, Marvel Cinematic Universe, or Marvel Studios, is this. We can all experience the exploration of these relationships, these characters, this universe, and in some cases too, character design. And we can all share it together, and we're able to watch the rise and fall of this story arc. And rise and fall, I mean like literal rise and fall within the story, not Invincible as a franchise. It's something new, that superhero that isn't up for debate. We can't debate what they left out. It's hard to debate. They should have done it a different way. We're getting this, and this is what we have, where the minutia of the debates or the slugginess of, I mean, it's because some of these things you hear, they didn't stay true to the source material for Aquaman, or they didn't do this for Black Panther, and this and that, and that's because there's 100 years. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little, but like 100 years worth of comics behind Black Panther. They make a movie, it's not going to be able to hit everything with all of these different storylines from all these different creators. It's impossible. But at the same time, though, it's worthy of debate. And there's this idea that this stuff really is not adaptable as a shared universe, but Invincible is contained. And Invincible, comic book wise, has an end. And Amazon is just strictly adapting one thing, because there's one Invincible comic that incorporates all these other heroes, this other bigger universe, these cosmic characters. There's just one source. And that's what makes it watchable, adaptable, and special, because it's hard to imagine Invincible in anything but animation at this time. And that is absolutely unique. All right, AKAPADers, go check it out. Invincible Season 4.
Okay, that's a wrap.